So, considering what happened in the previous season and the Valentine's Day special, I can understand why Season 4 of Harley Quinn, the animated series, wasn't exactly everyone's cup of tea. After all, by making the decision to have Harley explore her desire to do good with the Bat family, that meant breaking up the OG crew that consisted of Clayface and King Shark and giving them less screen time than we're used to. But in regards to her romantic relationship with Poison Ivy, that also introduced a new avenue of exploring their dynamic. Especially since, at the end of Season 3, we learned the path that Ivy will be taking in Season 4, Giancarlo Esposito's Lex Luthor offering Ivy the opportunity to run the Legion of Doom. Now, this isn't me saying that I didn't care what Harley went through in order for her to realize that she's an anti-hero at heart. Her whole battle with her subconsciousness that came out in Sleepwalking was a very real yet appropriately comedy-heightened exploration of dealing with things about yourself that you're not willing to accept, and I was glad that the writers went the way that they went in order to explore that. Hell, that might even be the topic for a future video if there's enough demand for it. So let me know in the comment section below if you want me to explore Harley's arc in Season 4 in another video. But in this one, the arc that drew the majority of my attention was Ivy tackling being not only just the first female leader of the Legion of Doom in the Harley Quinniverse, but also how over the course of it, she got a hard yet much needed reminder that trying to change things from the inside out never works because of who the system caters to in the first place. And while she got that reminder near the end of the season and proceeded to do what we leftists have been saying needs to be done to set institutions when she got that realization, there are a lot of key moments over the course of Season 4 that Poison Ivy learned regarding how the heavily embedded patriarchal and capitalistic system/establishment tries to change you when you follow its code of rules and ethics. And I want to go over what they were in the show so you can better identify them in real life. Let's begin. Hey readers, Laurent here, offering you analysis and perspective of your favorite bits of geek and pop culture media. If it wasn't obvious from this intro, this video will, in fact, contain spoilers for Season 4 of Harley Quinn, the animated series. It's currently available to stream exclusively on HBO Max, so give it a watch if you haven't seen it yet and don't want me to spoil pivotal points of it for you in this video. Other than that, if you end up liking what I'm putting down after this video is done, there are multiple ways that you can show some love. If you want to help financially support the channel, you can join my Patreon. There are multiple tiers starting at $1 that give you early access to my written articles and videos across every channel, copies of my video scripts, discount codes to my merchandise store, and a whole lot more. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and subscribe to my Substack newsletter. Not only is it the home for all of my written editorials, opinion pieces, and reviews for film and television after they debut on Patreon, but you'll also get an actual heads up whenever I post a new video on both Readus 101 and Readus 201, 5 minutes after their release. That's the syllabus now, on to the lesson. Let's talk about EWBC. Also known as the Evil Women in Business Collective, this is where Ivy meets the likes of other female DC supervillains like Livewire and Cheetah. However, the ones that stand out and kinda match where Ivy is as the first female CEO of the Legion of Doom are Wonder Woman CEO villain Veronica Cale, and of course, Talia al Ghul. Talia, who after returning to Gotham because she's the conservator of Wayne Enterprises while Bruce is in jail, unknowingly assisted in Ivy ruining Wayne Pharmaceuticals because she offered her advice during the EWBC networking luncheon regarding how to handle Mayor Joker and getting him to approve the permits needed to replace all the male trees with female trees.
So if we remove all male trees, we destroy the allergy medicine market and bankrupt Wayne Pharmaceuticals.
And as we see when Talia experienced the aftermath of what she gave Ivy advice for, the result was a surprising amount of mutual respect.
You tanked my fucking company. Voila. I might finally be operating with someone on my level.
Now, in retrospect, considering that both of these women are villains and that Harley Quinn is, first and foremost, a comedy show that allows its main cast to point out the worst traits in every other character for laughs, while also having development of their own, this level of respect between the two of them is kind of expected. And I hate to say this because of how quickly dumbasses are killing off media literacy and putting it in the endangered species list, but just because peeps can see something coming or are successfully able to predict something doesn't mean the something in question is bad or written poorly. It just means that one has experienced enough stories to know what to look for. What matters the most is how it's delivered, and the dynamic that Harley Quinn Season 4 established between Talia and Ivy was delivered in a way that helps drive how quickly it takes her to realize that she's just a cog in the machine. Because as we see over the course of the season, the amount of respect that grows between Talia and Ivy soon encompasses the rest of the heavy hitters of EWBC that allow her into their field the further she gets lost in the system. They offer her advice, provide camaraderie, and it seems like it's all coming from a genuine place.
Wow, girl. Where would you even be without the Evil Women in Business Collective?
But, as we see later on in the season, unlike her initial invitation to EWBC initially implied,
Break the glass ceiling, bitch. Jesus. Didn't we move past this kind of imagery post-Hillary?
the EWBC girlies are just as lost in the establishment sauce as everyone else, even the bigwigs like Talia and Veronica Cale. Because, just like in real life, there is a glass ceiling that they refuse to break. After Ivy succeeds in getting the board members to vote out Lex from LexCorp to stop his ozone machine, she's celebrated among EWBC in joining the others in accomplishing their first corporate takedown, but says this.
But, you know, it still feels very unresolved. Like nothing's changed.
Change? Honey, we're trying to get paid.
And that's the line that needs focusing on. The EWBC, just like the real-life establishment that's rooted in capitalism and patriarchy, doesn't really care about changing it for the better, even for the sake of feminism and fairness. It's all about accomplishing the things that they want to accomplish within the system in question without interrupting it. They make their stand on the matter perfectly clear when, even after celebrating Ivy voting Lex out of LexCorp, a lot of them still choose to go to his birthday party on the moon. Meanwhile, every time Ivy states her reasoning for everything she's decided to do this season, from becoming CEO of the Legion of Doom to taking down Lex, everyone that was previously in her corner when she was playing ball with how the system works is ready to laugh her off for daring to actually try and change things. They, like a lot of real-life individuals within systems of capitalism, oppressions, and patriarchy, all eventually go down the paths of self-preservation and staying dominant within their niches so that they can be comfortable and survive in the way the system currently is, with no intentions of changing it to be suitable for everyone, even if they originally entered said system to change it.
Ivy, you know how it works. We win, we lose, we go to parties. It's business, don't make it so personal.
And when Ivy dares to follow through with her plans and tries to implement real change, i.e. challenge a souped-up Lex at his birthday party, those same women that once offered advice and camaraderie now see her as a threat for daring to try and change an establishment that they benefit from, even if they're all women. And as a result of these decisions, for the likes of self-preservation, they now want nothing to do with her.
Powerful businesswomen take an L and move on. I thought you would understand that from my mentoring. Lose my number, and my real number.
However, while this was my first indicator that this was what the show was leading up to in regards to Ivy's storyline this season, I'd be lying if I said it was the most prominent. Because like I said earlier, readers, there were multiple aspects about Season 4 that gave me the realization about this being a main story beat before the finale just blatantly said it. And in my opinion, the one that was the most prominent involved the Jons. In my opinion, one of the most thorough and efficient ways of telling a story about how someone is changing for the worse in real time is showing a group of friends or associates being negatively affected by the change of the person in question. In the case of Harley Quinn Season 4, it's how Ivy is allowing the Jons to change her image and letting herself be molded to fit the establishment she initially wanted to change, while her mentees Tara, Volcana, and Tara Holland, aka the Natural Disasters, see her fall from grace in real time thanks to the abandonment the Jons tempt Ivy to make. Because the Jons, while not necessarily inspired by any pre-existing DC characters, represent at first that aspect of one losing oneself to the establishment. Because it's through the ways of social media and gaining a following in order to help better establish Ivy as the CEO of the Legion of Doom, the necessity of the PR team to establish a following for her takes up what she was initially aiming to do and bumps it up to 500, to levels so high that it almost causes her to forget what she was initially trying to accomplish in the first place.
Influencing the next generation is totes crucial, babe, but 3 people isn't a good use of your time. Imagine mentoring 3 billion people.
Billion? Like with a B?
This is what sets her down the path of completely forgetting about the natural disasters, because of how connected the aspects of establishment and social media are to each other as represented by the Jons. She gets a taste of how the ego can be boosted because of how the currently established system prompts up superficial numbers in order to track well with others, and for a while begins to fall down the same hole that the woman of Ubik fell down long ago. It's even doubly disheartening when you see that before the Jons were assigned to be her PR team, Ivy had a genuine desire to see the natural disasters grow and work as a team to develop something special.
I love these ideas. Okay, so we need to find a new way to weave these ideas together so it represents all of you as a team.
Then, the more preoccupied Ivy got because of the Jons' involvement in Temptations, the more led astray the natural disasters became.
It's like talking to a rock. If rocks were shitty listeners with perfect complexions. Let's go.
And then, thanks to losing her guidance, completely due to the Jons showing her the constant temptations of likability through marketability with the establishment's association with social media and the like, she completely forgets that she was ever their mentor to begin with.
Guys, hey look, I want to keep mentoring you, I do, but I have a responsibility to try to reach the other 2.9997 billion people who also look up to me, right?
It wasn't until the Jons began to multiply thanks to it feeding off the need to always grow and expand on multiple platforms of social media and them making social media decisions for Ivy on their own accord and her noticing it, that Ivy is able to catch herself and climb back to the surface before she falls too deep down the hole. And upon realizing this, she also realizes that she did heavy damage to a very important bridge that she was constructing with the natural disasters and tries to rectify things on the other side to eliminate the monster that is the Jons completely.
Look, I'm sorry, I fucked up. I fucked up your debut, and I should have been focusing on you guys, not sexy beverage collabs.
Thankfully, she was able to properly reconcile with the natural disasters when they agreed to help her get rid of the Jons once and for all. Because out of all the new characters Season 4 of Harley Quinn introduced, I really thought that the 3 were a pretty fun take on their comic counterparts. And I'm not gonna lie, I was kinda digging their collaborative New Gotham plan. However, because the overall purpose of the Jons was to drive Ivy away from her initial goals with what she had planned as CEO and the Legion of Doom to try and get her enthralled into establishment, we can't forget the initial reason why she's there in the first place. Lex Luthor. The allegory in how Lex sets Ivy up to fail is honestly incredibly easy to spot. From offering her the position as the CEO of the Legion of Doom to how he treats her over the duration of the season up until episode 8. While his involvement in Ivy's affairs was limited to a certain extent, every time he did involve himself proved to be very impactful. From trying and failing to undermine her and using the position he gave her to boost his ego and PR at the business conference on the moon.
That 45 seconds is the hottest time slot of the weekend. You have to save your voice. I'll have one of the Jons get you some tea.
To gifting her the Jons afterward that gives her a taste of what happens when you abandon your principles once the establishment takes hold of you.
I really don't think I need a PR team. The work speaks for itself.
Ring, 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 ring. Hello? Delusion? Girl, how'd you get this number? Excuse me, Ivy, it's for you.
Everything Lex did to Ivy after she accepted the role of the Legion of Doom CEO directly allowed him to be relieved of both the responsibility and the consequence. But because of his status, the decision to do so doesn't relinquish him of his power and sway within the establishment. We've seen this plenty of times in real life when it comes to similar situations. At the time of recording this video, Elon Musk stepped down as CEO of Twitter after buying it and getting his right-wing girl boss Linda Yaccarino to fill the position in June of 2023. But he's still the only chairman. Same with Jeff Bezos stepping down as CEO of Amazon in 2021, but still having immense power over the company as its executive chairman. Overly rich business owners in power, as a way of benefiting from the fact that not everyone knows that the real power in owning a conglomerate comes from its chairs, tends to sacrifice their spots as CEO as a way of showing the uneducated masses that they're giving up their power, especially when the public press works in favor of those who believe that CEOs are responsible for everything that happens to a company. But because being an executive chairman has more power over the company than the CEO, and that most of the individuals in question initially operate as both executive chairman and CEO for a reason, they stay in their executive chairman position in order to keep the power associated with running the company assigned to them and them alone. This is what Lex did to Ivy. With the Legion of Doom being a subsidiary of LexCorp, he, as the executive chairman, still had the power associated with it while Ivy ran the day-to-day stuff. And because of her being a woman, how she presents herself, and the types of crimes she commits, Lex uses Ivy's socio-economical feminist status to his advantage in order to make himself look good first and foremost, molding her where necessary along the way.
Some light compliments, a gorgeous PR team, and you became a perfectly ineffective puppet to warm my seat at the LOD while I built this.
This is why even in a comedy series, the use of Lex was perfect this season in order to not only show off how powerful he is as an evil conglomerate head, but how he is a perfect representation of the current way of things overall. Lex represents everything that Ivy has been trying to fight since, honestly, season 1. He's capitalism, he's patriarchy, he's the establishment. Because of how much power these three things have both in the real world and in the world of Harley Quinn, everything that he wants to happen will happen unless something completely drastic comes along to challenge him. And because of that, just like all these things he represents, those that try to utilize the same avenues in order to change things from the inside will always prove to be ineffective because of how the system caters to those like him. And they're presented with two options: either conform to it or die within it.
Splashy words, but ultimately, you accomplish nothing. Ha ha!
Listen, I know the lack of Clayface, King Shark, and even Frank kinda threw peeps off of the direction the writers for Season 4 wanted to explore with Harley and Ivy, branching off to further explore their extremes of good and evil respectively. And I totally get that there was a lack of that, oh my god, it's Beyonce energy because of it. But when you look at what we got in Season 4, because of that sacrifice, especially with Ivy, it's incredibly obvious that we got something special from the trade-off. Something that, while still hilarious in its own right, gave us a great depiction of how comedy exaggerations still hold incredible truths to them regarding how they accurately represent real-life situations and socio-political systems. And it's not like we're never gonna see the gang back together like they were in seasons 1 through 3. Season 5 has officially been announced, and both Harley and Ivy are in places that allow them to not only get back the OG crew shenanigans, but also explore Gotham City Siren stuff, which I can't wait for personally. But considering every possible storyline Ivy could have experienced in Season 4 of Harley Quinn the Animated Series, this much needed wake-up call that plenty of peeps are going through currently and can easily watch as a result was the right choice.
I didn't build anything, Harles. I was just part of the problem.
But I digress, readers. Your homework assignment for the day. Write in the comment section below what you thought of Season 4 of Harley Quinn the Animated Series if you've seen it. Or if you feel like sharing with the rest of the class, write in the comment section below a storyline in film or television that you've seen that did a great job at conveying the message that there's no real saving the naturally corrupt system/establishment from the inside, and that completely destroying it to build something new is more than likely the better option. And remember, if this video gets enough engagement via comments, views, and likes, I'll make a video on Harley's storyline this season as well. But whatever question you decide to answer, I'd love to know your thoughts. A huge shout out to my patrons, both big and small, for helping make this channel possible. Make sure you check out the card at the end of the video to join, or click the link to it or any of my affiliates in the description box below. But until then, this is Readus 101. Class dismissed.